What happens when calm journalism meets royal arrogance? What begins as a quiet conversation in a small studio soon transforms into one of the most intense televised encounters ever broadcast. No laughter, no audience, no commercial breaks. Just two men, sitting across from each other, and a silence heavy enough to cut through glass. Tucker Carlson had interviewed presidents, soldiers, and heads of state. But on this evening, something was different. Across from him sat Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, a man both adored and despised, whose name had become a headline long before his words ever did. The studio was intimate by design. Warm lighting, deep wooden walls, bookshelves lined with framed photos and leather-bound volumes, and a fireplace that flickered softly in the background. It was meant to look like a home, a calm, civilized, private. But from the moment the red light blinked on, it was clear there would be nothing calm about what was coming. Tucker sat upright, pen poised between his fingers, his expression measured but alert. Prince Harry leaned back in his chair, one ankle resting lazily on his knee, eyes scanning the room with a mix of boredom and challenge. "Your Royal Highness," Tucker began evenly, "thank you for joining me. It's been some time since you've done a one-on-one interview like this. What made you decide to speak now?" Harry smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hides a blade. "Well, Tucker," he said, "maybe I just felt like wasting an evening doing something beneath me." A pause. Tucker blinked once, a polite smile tugging at his lips. "I appreciate your time regardless," he replied smoothly. Harry tilted his head, still smirking. "Yes, I'm sure you do." Already, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Tucker pressed on. "You've spoken often about wanting privacy, yet you've written books, filmed documentaries, and now you're sitting here, on camera. How do you reconcile those two things?" Harry gave a short, theatrical sigh. "You journalists love that one, don't you? As if the concept of controlling your own story is foreign to you." "Privacy doesn't mean silence, Tucker. It means boundaries, something your profession has a hard time respecting." "That's fair," Tucker said calmly. "But being a public figure comes with some degree of public attention, wouldn't you agree?" Harry chuckled softly, but the sound carried ice. "You're American. You wouldn't understand royalty even if it slapped you." The words lingered in the air. Tucker's expression didn't change. "Perhaps not," he said quietly, "but I do understand hypocrisy." Harry's gaze sharpened. "Excuse me? You've accused the press of exploitation," Tucker said. "But you've also profited from sharing deeply personal stories, even about your family. Some might call that a contradiction." Harry smiled again, this time cruelly. "And some might say American journalists pretend to care about truth while selling outrage. Look at you sitting there in your perfect suit, playing the man of the people." Tucker's pen stopped moving. His tone stayed even. "Do you think being misunderstood gives you the right to be dismissive?" Harry leaned forward slightly, eyes narrowing. "It gives me the right to be honest, something your kind rarely attempts." The crew behind the cameras exchanged nervous glances. You could hear the hum of the studio lights, every second of silence pulling tighter like a wire. Tucker nodded slightly, turning a page on his notepad. "Let's talk about your book. You shared private conversations, personal disputes. Do you think that was fair to those involved?" Harry gave a sharp laugh. "Fair? That's such an American word. Fair is for games and courtrooms. I told my truth. If people can't handle that, perhaps they shouldn't have given me a story to tell." Tucker's eyes studied him, calm, unmoving. "I've interviewed people who were angry, defensive, even ruthless," he said softly. "But you're the first who seems proud of being offended." Harry's jaw tensed. "And you're the first journalist I've met who mistakes arrogance for insight." "I think," Tucker said, "that's our first disagreement of the night." "Oh, I doubt it'll be the last." The tension hung heavy. Tucker continued, voice smooth but firm. "You've spoken about mental health and healing, noble ideas. But some critics say your public remarks have caused new wounds, that your actions haven't broken cycles, They've created them. How do you respond? Harry rolled his eyes dramatically. Critics? You mean tabloids with microphones? I don't respond to bottom feeders. Tucker raised an eyebrow. You're speaking to one right now. Harry's smirk faltered for half a second. I said what I said. You realize, Tucker said, setting his pen down, this was meant to be your opportunity to speak for yourself. So far, all we've heard are insults. Maybe your questions deserve them. Harry shot back. Tucker's lips twitched faintly, almost a smile. Then I suppose the viewers will decide. Harry leaned back, grinning smugly, mistaking patience for a treat. But Tucker's eyes didn't move. They watched, measured, calculating every sneer, every deflection. And somewhere deep in that calm, you could sense it. Tucker's patience thinning, one breath at a time. Let's talk about California, Tucker said after a moment. You've said life that brought you peace. Do you think distance helped you gain perspective? Harry chuckled, low and mocking. Perspective? Tucker, I didn't need distance for that. I needed escape from parasites with cameras. That's a strong word, Tucker said quietly. Is it? Harry countered. Because that's what the media are, parasites. They feed, they twist, they drain. Then they call it journalism. Tucker crossed one leg over the other. For someone who despises the media, you spend a remarkable amount of time talking to them. Harry smirked. I talk when I choose to, on my terms. Interesting, Tucker said. Because you came here willingly, yet you act as though this is an ambush. Harry laughed coldly. You're Tucker Carlson. Ambush journalism is your specialty. The insult landed like a spark in dry grass. But Tucker's composure held firm. If that were true, he said quietly, you wouldn't have accepted the invitation. Harry leaned forward. Maybe I came to see what it's like being interrogated by America's most overrated commentator. Someone behind the camera shifted. Another exhaled sharply. Tucker didn't blink. Or maybe you came because you still crave attention from the very system you claim to hate. For the first time, Harry hesitated, just long enough for the camera to catch the flicker of anger in his eyes. That's ridiculous, he snapped. You think you know me? You know nothing about what I've lived through. Tucker's tone softened slightly. Then help us understand. You've spoken about trauma and feeling trapped, but some say you've traded one spotlight for another, one where you control the lighting. Harry laughed bitterly. You think I enjoy this, sitting here with smug questions from a man who's never faced half the pressure I've endured? I think, Tucker said evenly, you enjoy control, and when you lose it, you lash out. Harry's voice turned sharp. You really should try therapy, Tucker. Psychology clearly isn't your field. I don't need credentials, Tucker replied. Just observation. You've built an empire out of criticizing the media, and yet you've made millions off doing the same thing. Harry leaned forward, tone dripping with contempt. Don't pretend you're better than me. You thrive on conflict. You need me to stay relevant. And you, Tucker countered, seem to need conflict to stay interesting. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Harry gave a tight smile. You think you're clever, don't you? I think I'm doing my job. Your job, Harry said, his voice rising, is to provoke. You don't care about truth, just humiliation. That's what you do best. I ask questions, Tucker said quietly. You call that humiliation because you don't like the answers. Harry's tone sharpened. You twist my words, and you know it. And you twist your story, Tucker replied, and call it truth. Harry stood abruptly, his voice louder now, pacing in front of his chair. You think this is a game, don't you? You think you can tear me down like one of your politicians? I think, Tucker said, unmoving, you've mistaken accountability for persecution. Harry turned sharply. You, talking to me about accountability? You are the man who's built a career off outrage. Yes, Tucker said calmly, because I recognize privilege when it walks into my studio pretending to be a victim. For the first time, Harry didn't speak. His breathing grew heavier. His expression ate tight, furious. You wanted to tell your story, Tucker said, but all you've done is attack anyone who asks you to explain it. Maybe, Harry said coldly, because most people don't deserve my explanations. Tucker nodded slightly. Well, that says quite a lot. Harry smirked again, convinced he'd regained control. See, Tucker, I don't need people to like me. No, Tucker said softly, but you desperately need them to listen. The air shifted again, a sharp, cold. Harry leaned back, voice mocking. You sit there pretending to be the voice of reason, but all you want is outrage. Be honest, this is entertainment for you. Tucker didn't look away. Ratings don't excuse behavior. Neither does privilege. I'm simply giving you the chance to clarify your beliefs. Harry laughed. You think this is about belief? I came because my team thought it'd be amusing. The words hit like a slap. Tucker's voice stayed low. So this interview, your chance to speak directly to millions, is just a joke to you? Harry shrugged. I expected intelligent questions. A dangerous stillness settled over Tucker's expression. All right, he said finally. Let's ask an intelligent one. What responsibility do you take for damaging your family's reputation? Harry froze. Excuse me? You've accused them publicly of racism, manipulation, neglect. Do you believe that's created healing or more division? Harry gave a hollow laugh. You think I'm the problem? You really are unbelievable. I think, Tucker said, you're avoiding the question. Harry's tone rose. You don't know what I've lived through. The trauma, the intrusion. I do know, Tucker interrupted gently, that you've made millions sharing it. Harry's face darkened. You think I did this for money? Some might say, Tucker replied. You've monetized your pain. Harry's words came out like venom. And some might say you've monetized division. Tucker nodded. Perhaps. But I don't call that hypocrisy when it suits me. Harry leaned forward, eyes burning. You really think you can talk down to me because of that flag on your set? Tucker's tone was calm as ice. I think everyone here can see who's talking down to whom. Harry's jaw tightened. You're twisting everything I say. No, Tucker said. You're saying everything you mean. The studio fell into dead silence. Harry's voice cracked slightly as he spoke again. You journalists think you can trap me with your smug little setups. You have no idea what real pressure is. Pressure, Tucker said quietly, is staying calm while someone insults you on camera. You should try it. Harry froze. The mask slipped. The anger behind his eyes was no longer contained. You think you can humiliate me? He said. But I'm not one of your guests to toy with. I'm not humiliating you, Tucker replied softly. I'm trying to have a conversation. You seem allergic to it. Harry's fist clenched. You're patronizing me. I'm restraining myself, Tucker said evenly. The silence was unbearable. Someone in the corner mouthed, cut the feed. Tucker ignored it. You came here to tell your truth, Tucker said slowly. But truth doesn't need hostility. It needs honesty. And I haven't heard much of that tonight. Harry let out a bitter laugh. You wouldn't recognize truth if it punched you in the face. And yet, Tucker replied, I seem to be the only one not hiding behind it. Harry pointed sharply. You invited me here to make a fool of me. No, Tucker said calmly. You're doing that all by yourself. For a second, everything stopped. Harry's voice dropped low. You'll regret this. Tucker stood slowly, fixing his cuffs, meeting Harry's stare without blinking. If this was an ambush, Your Highness, he said, it's one you built yourself out of ego. Harry stepped forward. Stop, Tucker interrupted quietly, you've said enough. They stood there, locked in silence, one trembling with fury, the other radiating stillness. Finally, Tucker's voice broke the air. That's enough for tonight. We'll take a short break. The cameras cut, but no one in the room moved. Harry exhaled sharply, muttering under his breath, you'll regret this. Tucker's reply was soft, almost kind. I doubt it. When they returned from the break, the set looked the same, but the energy had shifted. The crew knew they were witnessing something that would be replayed, dissected, and remembered. Tucker looked directly into the camera. Welcome back, he said calmly. We're here with Prince Harry, discussing life beyond the royal family and what freedom really means. Harry smirked. Freedom, is that what this is? Sitting here being lectured by a man who calls civility compliance. Civility, Tucker said, is disagreeing without losing control. Harry scoffed. Control? You mean pretending? You act polite while twisting everything into a headline. I report, Tucker replied. I don't perform. Oh, come on, Harry sneered. You and your viewers live for performance. You don't want answers, you want outrage. And today, I'm your villain." Tucker's expression didn't move. "You're doing fine playing that role on your own." Harry froze, then laughed bitterly. "You think I care what you or your audience think?" "No," Tucker said softly. "That's exactly the problem." Harry's eyes flashed. "Excuse me? You've spent years saying you're misunderstood," Tucker continued, voice low, deliberate. "That you're tired of being portrayed as the victim. But here you are again, turning every question into an attack." Harry leaned forward, eyes hard. "I speak truth. You just don't like it." Tucker nodded once. "Maybe, or maybe truth isn't the issue. Maybe it's how you wield it like a weapon instead of a mirror." Harry glared, jaw tight. "You're unbelievable." Tucker's final words came like a whisper. "And you're predictable." The camera stayed on both men for a long, silent moment. No movement, no music. Just two faces, one calm, one cracked with fury. Then, quietly, Tucker said, "Thank you for your time, Your Royal Highness." Harry didn't respond. He simply stood, straightened his jacket, and walked out without another word. The door closed behind him with a dull, echoing click. And Tucker sat still for several seconds, staring at the empty chair, at the faintest trace of a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Control," he murmured softly, almost to himself. The cameras faded to black, and the world began to talk.